Test, test. Testing, testing. 1, 2, test, test, test.
Source, test, test, test. Testing, testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. Test, test. Test, test, testing, testing, 1, 2, testing. Test, test, testing, 1, 2. Test, test, test. Test, test. Testing 1 2. Test. Test. ConvoCourses. Test. Hey guys, this is Bruce. Welcome to ConvoCourses. Sorry for the delay. I had a little bit of a technical issue. Every time I change something up, everything I've got to fix stuff on the fly. It's crazy. Anyway, this is a podcast for ConvoCourses. I got a few things to announce to you guys. If you didn't know, our focus here is security compliance. Security compliance is the methods and processes that organizations use to manage the risk to their systems. Now, this includes not only NIST 800, which I mainly talk about, but also PCI compliance, privacy compliance. There's international standards, and each country has their own standard. So if you happen to be watching me from another country, or you happen to be in the medical industry, you happen to be in the financial services industry, whatever the case may be, your industry, your country, your state, your local county, more than likely uses some form of security compliance. And let's just get right into this. So security and compliance is dealing with this stuff you see on the screen. If you're interested in getting into this type of stuff, I've got free downloadables, I've got free training, I've got tons of free stuff that you can use, not the least of which is YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and any platform you can think of. I'm out there and promoting security compliance. Let's get into this. I want to show you guys something new that I've got. If you're interested in hearing an audio book on how to get into this or what this is all about, and you want to know more about this, I've got a course out there, link in the description below if you happen to have never done Audible before. Audible is an awesome thing I use all the time to listen to all kinds of books, to be honest with you. I read a lot of fiction. Science fiction is probably my favorite. But I also listen to self-help books, all kinds of books. I'm constantly listening to books, spiritual books, all kinds of philosophy, everything. But I've got a book out right now. So if you actually are interested in this, it's an hour and 30 minutes long, read by Frank Block. He's a great artist. But check out the link in the description below, and it tells you how to actually get this for free. If you've never used Audible before, you get to sign up for this book, and you get like 30 days free trial, so you can like download books and stuff like that. And Audible has a whole bunch of free stuff that you can get on there as well. Once you sign up for it, they have a bunch of free stuff that you can listen to at any time of the day, not just my stuff, but like tons of other stuff. I'll be releasing a lot of different audio because I'm a big fan of audiobooks because I'm always doing something else. Like if I happen to be driving or happen to be doing anything like yard work or something, I'll listen to a book. So I am a huge fan of it. So I release most of my books on Audible when I can. So I've got another book coming out pretty soon here. I'm in the middle of working on it, but I'm going to show you guys what I'm working on. And then that one will also be on Audible. So this is a great opportunity to get on Audible by getting that link in the description below and getting that book. I mean, I think it's $6, $7. So let me show you guys what I've got going on. That is a short book, but I'm working on a longer book. And this one's going to break down the families of the NIST 853. A lot of times when people ask me like, Bruce, like, how do I get into this? What do I do? I have no idea like where to even start. So the actual control. We don't have the luxury of focusing on one thing. We have to be a jack of all trades. We have to know many different disciplines. We have to know a little bit of networking. We have to know how to troubleshoot. We have to know many different aspects of IT in general. And okay, somebody said my audio cut out. Can you guys hear me? Test. Yeah, I can hear myself. That's the weirdest thing. David, can you hear me right now? Everybody else, can you guys hear me? Can you hear my audio before I continue and give my best stuff? I don't want to. I've done that before. I did the most magnificent presentation ever, and I have no sound. I had to redo it. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Before I get started. How you guys doing today? While we're waiting. How are you doing out there? I'm on, should be, okay, good to go now. Great. Yeah, right now, if you want to watch me, I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm going to try to figure out how to do this on Twitter, on TikTok as well, for live streaming. But I just hit like 1,000 subscribers on TikTok, so I think I can actually do it right now, but I just want to make sure I got the right format to do it before I get started. Okay, it says I'm good to go now. Okay, let me keep going here. So one of the biggest questions that I get in cybersecurity space is how to actually interpret the security control families. And what I was saying is as cybersecurity people, we don't really have the luxury of just focusing on one thing. We have to know many different disciplines. And the actual security controls gives you an opportunity to have a solid understanding of how much information you need to know across all different features of cybersecurity, because that's what the control families do. There's 18 different control families, and they focus on things like not only access controls, logical access controls, but physical access controls, physical security. You got to know a little bit about training. You got to, like cybersecurity training. AU controls are audit and accountability, turning on the logs, making sure the logs don't fill up the system and then shut the system down. Things like CM. This is a big one. Configuration management. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see this. This is the book I'm working on. I'm excited about this one because this is stuff people been asking me about for a long time. And if you're a cybersecurity person, if you happen to be in this industry, you really need to know this stuff. CP controls, contingency planning. That's like disaster recovery type stuff. IA controls, identification and authentication. That's a whole different industry in and of itself. And they're wanting us to know, cybersecurity people, to know a little piece of this. You gotta be able to at least articulate it to the people that you're talking to. You've gotta have the skill set, not necessarily to implement it, but you have to have the skill set to articulate what it means enough to be able to identify vulnerabilities and protect against vulnerabilities. You've got to have that level of understanding. Configuration and actual implementation, that helps a bit. It helps a bit. However, you've got to remember, like, if somebody is, say, putting in a network, you might use Juniper, you might use Cisco, you might use any number of different vendors, and then each one of those vendors has a different way of implementation. So implementation is so all over the place that where are you going with it? Like it's so many different iterations of implementation. The most important thing for cybersecurity is understanding the technology enough to be able to articulate it and identify the actual vulnerabilities. So incident response, that's another one that we talk about. We talking about it at a high level, and then we're going to break it down into like, what are the actual vulnerabilities? You need to understand it enough to understand, like, what are the vulnerabilities? How do we protect against it? If I happen to be in a position where I'm doing cybersecurity, I'm doing compliance, you have to be able to understand it. So that is what we're talking about here. Let's see here. PM is, in this case, not project management, but program management. That's another one. Personnel security. Actual privacy is a huge one in cybersecurity. Risk assessments. SA. So it just goes down the line. So what I'm doing in this book is breaking down what it means, and then how do you articulate it? What are the main controls? This is the big one. What are the main controls that you need to focus on as an information system security officer? And what I want to do is I'm going to go through one of these. Okay, this just goes through like a breakdown of what the book is going to go through and all that kind of stuff, like how it's all broken out. I use an example of the Panama Canal about how to understand the processes in information security. I know they don't have a lot of specific crossroads between the Panama Canal and risk management framework, but the process is what I focus on. The process is important to actually having safety, security throughout the process, and so that's how I compare those two things together. To give you a very real world example of what it means, like if you really don't have any kind of understanding of what risk management framework is, I'm using a real world example to explain like how it works. All right, so let me start off with the actual AC controls. So I'd start off with AC control families. This is all just breaking everything down. I go through each one of these control families, every single one. That's why it's taken me a while to write this. So access controls, I explain what it is. So what is access controls? So access controls is not just account management. I do explain, yes, account management. That means setting up the accounts, the creation of the accounts, the life cycle of the accounts, all the way till the person leaves the organization and you have to remove their information from your systems. That's access management, yes. But also in NIST 800, it also includes access management to wireless. So you've got to think about that. Remote access, and it also includes separation of duties. So what I do is I say, look, these are the most important ones that you need to worry about. This is what's going to come. There's something like 20 different AC controls, but these are the main ones that are going to come up when you're doing your work. if the organization uses accounts management is going to be one of the biggest things that are going to be of concern to you, because not only do you have to have those implemented properly, and you have to have role-based privileges and role-based accounts and things like that, and avoiding group accounts and all that kind of stuff, but also when you have an assessor come in, they're going to be looking at that kind of stuff. And it's at the forefront of your organization, the account management. So that's why it's super important. So I go into that. I go into like, what do you do? Now, this is something that a lot of people who do these books don't do. What do you need to do as a cybersecurity person doing access control? What do you need to do during access control, for access control during risk management framework process of categorization? During the security categorization phase, what do you need to do? So that's a big one. And then we get into, let me see. So I go into preparation. When you're preparing for this, how do you actually prepare as a risk management framework person? How do you, what do you do? What do you need to, what are some of the gotchas when you're going through the security categorization and selection process? What are some of the things that you need to know? And there's a bunch of pictures in here and stuff like that. What do you need to do to implement this? A lot of times it's not us. Here's the thing. A lot of times it's not us that's implementing it. It's the actual organization that's implementing it. It's the organization. So we have to work with those people to implement that particular control. And so I'm giving examples of what, like, whether you're working with a Linux system or you're working with a Windows system, regardless, you have to implement access control family. So that's going to be what's going on in that book. That's coming here real soon. If you're interested in actually getting into the risk management framework ISO course, check it out. Here it is right here. And let me see. There was something. Okay, yeah, this is what I wanted to do today. And I'm going to save this for a little bit later today. But if you guys tune in a little bit later, I'm going to go through the AC, something that people have been asking me about for years, doing a security control assessor, a NIST security control assessor course. I'm actually going to start going through some of the parts and pieces of this. There's so much content that I've been putting together with this that we're going to start going through, deep diving into this kind of stuff. And it's in conjunction with the course that I'm putting out